Live from Citizen TV, this is JKL with Jeff Koinange.
You know, if it's Wednesday, it's all about those three letters on the keyboard that follow each other. JKL. Thanks for joining us on this Wednesday, the 22nd of July, 2026, where JKL is live on the road in Juba, capital of Africa's youngest nation, which, by the way, turned 15 years old last week. We're here for an exclusive one-on-one with the country's president, Salva Kiir Mayardit. Stay tuned for that, folks. It's gonna be a good one. Start tweeting at Koinange Jeff, at Citizen TV Kenya. The hashtag is JKLive. JKLive begins right now as we go back to Citizen TV headquarters in Nairobi with our very own Ayub Abdid Kadir at Citizen TV headquarters in Nairobi. Ayub, take it away.
And as the continent's last-born country prepares for the polls in December, troubled relation between its leadership presents enormous political, social, and economic challenges for the people of South Sudan. In a tell-all interview, President Salva Kiir graces the bench from Juba, the capital of South Sudan, with Jeff Koinange. I am Ayub Abdikadir, and here are the top stories tonight.
Sasa ndio nimetoka, nimekuta tape measure hapo. Nikaona sitarudi. Lazima nitoke nijue kenye kinaendelea kwa sababu shimo imefungwa.
Another gold mine tragedy. 5 people killed. A known number of mine workers missing after Kilima Pesa gold mine in Transmara, Narok County collapsed. Killed and shipped out. CCTV footage reveals how police transported teacher and blogger Albert Ojwang to Mbagathi Hospital.
And independence should never be used as a shield against accountability.
Deal with judiciary graft. Lawyers launch a nationwide court boycott, accusing some judges of corruption, incompetence, and favoritism.
We need to see the apprehension of those who are perpetrators and those who are the planners of it. That will restore public confidence.
Demand accountability. Archbishop Jackson Ole Sapit calls for action against goons and their sponsors during an All Saints Cathedral cleansing ceremony. And Njoki Shege is our sign language interpreter. Tonight, we begin with another gold mine tragedy. 5 people have been confirmed dead following the collapse of a mine at the Kilima Pesa mining site in Lolgorian, the county of Narok. The victims were among dozens of miners who entered the underground shafts late on Tuesday night in search of gold, only for the tunnels to cave in and trap them beneath the tons of debris. Mining activities have since been suspended as rescue teams race against time amid fears that more miners could still be trapped underground. Crispin Otieno begins our coverage tonight.
Jackson Magiki, a 45-year-old artisanal miner, stunned rescuers and fellow miners after emerging alive on Wednesday afternoon. Having spent nearly 11 hours trapped inside the collapsed mining tunnels, where 5 of his colleagues lost their lives. Magiki considers himself fortunate to have survived the deadly collapse. He says he entered the mine at around 10 p.m. on Tuesday and remained trapped underground for hours, unaware that a deadly collapse had occurred around him.
Sasa ndio nimetoka, nimekuta tape measure hapo. Nikaona sitarudi. Lazima nitoke nijue kenye kinaendelea kwa sababu shimo imefungwa. Ukiwa kuna mtu unasikia kuna nyundo inagonga sehemu. Kigonga sehemu unajua hapo kuna mtu.
Magiki says he took a different tunnel from the other miners. Emerging at around 3 p.m., he was greeted by police tape and heartbreaking news. The colleagues he had left behind had been buried in the collapse. Well, this is the tunnel used by the miners while they were getting right inside here. It goes several kilometers from where we are. Apparently, the tragedy struck, and so far, 5 have been confirmed dead. We're still not very sure whether there are more bodies trapped inside, but the rescuing is still going on, though at a slow pace. For Simon Jaramba, chairperson of the Kilima Pesa miners, the collapse triggered a frantic race against time as he rushed to help rescue his trapped colleagues.
Nimekuwa traumatized kiakili leo sababu sijawahi kutoa watu wengi kama hiyo 5 nimetoa na bado natarajia kutafuta kama iko ingine. Mimi nasema tu rescue team ya serikali na rescue team ya watu wa mining ambayo iko chini yangu tuungane, tuingie, tusake hii shimo, tuone kama kuna wenzetu wengine bado iko, tupate kutoa vile tumetoa wengine.
Hii kazi ya migodi ni kazi ambaye ni kazi ya kawaida ama ni kazi ambaye imefaidi wengi, japo kuwa unajua hata ukikula ugali naweza kukunyonga. Ugali tu ukikula unaweza kukunyonga na utakufa tu. Kwa hivyo ningependa tu kusema kwamba tunaomba serikali yetu tuweze kuwa pamoja, kwa sababu wale wameshafukuliwa tayari, wamesafirishwa.
As anxious family wait for answers, security officers and Narok County disaster teams are battling to reach the heart of the collapse and establish whether more miners remain trapped underground.
We've already recovered 5 bodies. It is still in the initial report, and we've sealed off that area so that the mining company people can come. They are on the way coming to Nairobi, but we have sealed that area.
Authorities have confirmed that 3 of the victims were from Witembe in Kuria East, while the other 2 were Tanzanian nationals. In the meantime, investigators are working to unravel the cause of the deadly collapse. Crispino, TNO Citizen TV, Transmara.
Questions on why 3 police officers from Central Police Station who are assigned to take the late Albert Ojwang to Mbagathi Hospital for medical care took their time before doing so dominated the hearing on the murder trial, which entered its 3rd day on Wednesday. The Independent Policing and Oversight Authority's forensic expert Joshua Mutua told the court that from his analysis, he was shocked by a 24-minute delay police officers subjected Ojwang to before they finally wheeled him into the hospital's casualty department, where he was pronounced dead on arrival. Gatete Njoroge followed the proceedings.
On the 3rd day of the murder trial of the late Albert Ojwang, Joshua Mutua, IPOA forensic expert, was back in the witness stand. The man who retrieved the CCTV footage capturing Ojwang's last hours took time to explain to the court events that occurred after 3 police officers left Central Police Station to take Ojwang to Mbagathi Hospital on June 8, 2025. Timestamps on CCTV showed the police van arrived at Mbagathi Hospital at 1:35 a.m., 10 minutes after departure from Central Police Station, where the late Ojwang was allegedly assaulted. Despite arriving in 10 minutes, the 3 officers who were seated in the front cabin with an unresponsive Ojwang at the back were not in a rush to ensure he gets medical care.
My take was there was no urgency to rush the victim with the attention of the medics.
There is no urgency in that movement to show there is a sick person in the vehicle. That is for the Defense Council. We agree on that.
The officers captured walking around the hospital, talking on phone. At 1:46 a.m., CCTV cameras captured 2 officers pulling a stretcher to the police van left outside unmanned. For another 13 minutes, they made preparations to take Ojwang, who was unresponsive inside the facility.
Now the body has been removed, it has been placed on the stretcher.
Why saying body? We have no pathologist report at that time.
At 1:59 a.m., 24 minutes after their arrival, Ojwang was taken to the casualty department. At 2:11 a.m., the officers are captured leaving the casualty with the late Ojwang, heading back to the police vehicle after he was reportedly pronounced dead by a medic.
So they were in the casualty room. They're exiting at 2:11, just about 10 minutes. That is what I wanted you to note.
The 3 officers left Mbagathi Hospital at 2:15 a.m., exactly 40 minutes after they arrived. The late Ojwang's body was later transferred to the city mortuary. Mutua confirmed to the court that the CCTV presented is the exact footage that captured the events at the hospital, and it has not been interfered with. The forensic expert is now expected to be cross-examined on December 14th, with the CCTV footage forming part of the crucial evidence the prosecution side is relying on in the murder trial.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Gatete Njoroge, Citizen TV, Kibera Law Courts.
Elsewhere, a multi-sectoral committee has been set up to undertake a major legislative audit and review of unconstitutional, obsolete and redundant statutory laws to align them with the 2010 Constitution. The team led by Kenya Law Reform Commission will rectify gaps in the law, including those invalidated by courts. Here's Stephen Leto with that report.
Barely 16 years after the promulgation of the 2010 Constitution, Attorney General Dorcas Oduor says it is time to audit the document. The Attorney General, accompanied by Solicitor General Shadrack Mose, unveiled a team that will be led by the Kenya Law Reforms Commission to spearhead a 6-month marathon audit of the Constitution.
We are gathered here to address a persistent governance gap in our legal system. And that gap is the presence of statutes and statutory provisions on our laws and on our law books that have been invalidated by courts but remain unamended, unrepealed, or unaligned.
The Attorney General acknowledges that some legislative pieces are obsolete as they have not been aligned with the Constitution.
Apart from those ones that have been declared unconstitutional by the court, we also have laws that are obsolete, that should no longer be in our statute books. And we also have laws that have not been aligned to the Constitution 2010. In essence, those laws are unconstitutional.
We are all of us obligated to submit our reports, our concerns to this committee, so that as a country we are able to move forward.
The team will gather public views, harmonize the framework, and present proposals that may include repealing some sections of the Constitution enacted in 2010.
Including proposals for repeal, amendment, consolidation, or fresh enactment to align our laws with contemporary governance standards.
According to Kenya Law Reforms Commission, top on the priority will be identifying and review statutory provisions previously declared unconstitutional by courts of law, including 42 statutes that are now obsolete.
And our second preliminary analysis has identified 42 statutes that may have become obsolete but are still in our statute books.
The team that is now under the Kenya Law Reforms Commission will review all judgments made by the courts before engaging the public and later present the report to Parliament. Stephen Leto, Citizen TV.
The Law Society of Kenya is now blaming the judiciary for interfering with the planned countrywide courts boycott by its members of alleged corruption among judicial officers, including judges. A nationwide spot check by Citizen TV, including Nairobi's Milimani, Kibera, Nakuru, Kajiado, Kisii, and Narok, established that proceedings continued uninterrupted, even as a section of LSK members kept attending court sessions. The lawyers' body is now threatening to escalate its strike if its concerns are not addressed by Chief Justice Martha Koome. Here's Seth Olale.
The Law Society of Kenya has reaffirmed that its nationwide boycott of court proceedings remain in force, urging advocates across the country to stay away from the corridors of justice as pressure mounts for greater accountability within the judiciary. A spot check across the country established that court proceedings continued as scheduled on the first day of the boycott.
To protect it.
While blaming the judiciary for allegedly interfering with the planned boycotts, the lawyers' umbrella body LSK urged advocates to join hands in pushing for reforms in the judiciary.
We are still receiving information from our members who are being forced to proceed with matters, and some of whose matters have been taken out with prejudice. They have been either dismissed or asked to pay court allocation, court adjournment fees, and so on.
At the Milimani Law Courts, senior lawyers led by Law Society of Kenya President Charles Kanjama moved from one courtroom to another, urging advocates to seek adjournments in solidarity with the nationwide lawyers' boycott.
And independence should never be used as a shield against accountability.
As the elections are coming, we'll be looking unto the courts to have some level of sanity.
We have witnessed as a country a gradual slide in the rule of law.
LSK, together with Senior Counsel Barr, who are scheduled to meet the Judicial Service Commission on July 31st to discuss concerns over what the legal fraternity terms as use of court orders by some judicial officers to shield themselves against accountability.
We know there are so many of these petitions before the GSC that were dismissed without merit.
We have had dialogue upon dialogue until finally the dialogue stopped.
Until the judiciary is reformed and until the corrupt judges change their bad habit.
Speaking outside the Supreme Court buildings, LSK President Charles Kanjama warned that the attorneys will explore other options in a bid to escalate the strike over alleged corruption, incompetence and favoritism by a section of judges and other judicial officers while handling cases.
Kuna kesi bado inaendelea, lakini funny enough wakili wetu wako kuja.
It has gotten away with complaints from members of the public, from members of the bar on their conduct, and no action is being taken.
Corruption. 2, delay in administration of justice.
The main aim is to get accountability from the judiciary.
Even as the Law Society of Kenya calls upon its members to intensify their opposition against the judiciary over alleged misconduct, the judiciary led by its head, the Chief Justice Martha Koome, remains adamant, insisting the courts will remain open. Seth Olale, Citizen TV at the Milimani Law Courts, Nairobi County.
Kangema Senior Principal Magistrate Martin Kenywa has been stripped of all judicial duties following his arrest by the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission of allegations of soliciting and receiving a bribe. Kenywa, who was arrested alongside Kangema Principal Probation Officer Julius Irongo, is accused of demanding 170,000 Kenya shillings from a Muranga businessman he had convicted of obtaining money by false pretenses, allegedly in exchange for non-custodial sentence that was due to be delivered today on Wednesday. As Kamau Mwangi now tells us, the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission says it has widened its focus to the conduct of judicial officials amid a growing number of complaints over corruption within the justice system.
Early Wednesday morning, Kangema Senior Principal Magistrate Martin Kenywa found himself at the EACC Central Regional Offices in Nyeri rather than his usual courtroom dispensing justice. In a dramatic twist of fate, Magistrate Martin Kenywa found himself on the other side of the law after his arrest on Tuesday in Kangema town. The anti-graft agency alleges that he solicited a Kenya shillings 170,000 bribe from a Muranga businessman he had convicted of obtaining money by false pretenses and was due to sentence today.
The complainant came and gave us this information. We mounted an operation yesterday, and true to his word, the magistrate also arrived at the scene in a hotel where they were supposed to pick the money. And they received the money. Our people were ready, and they arrested them, charged them and got the money from them.
According to the EACC, which recovered 150,000 Kenya shillings during the sting operation, Kinyua and his alleged accomplice Principal Probation Officer Julius Irungu are accused of promising to tilt the scales of justice in the businessman's favor. Investigators say the pair assured him that the payment would secure a favorable probation report and ultimately spare him a custodial sentence.
Covert investigations indicate that there has been more interferences, there has been more compromising in even more serious cases than this one. So when we put our pieces together, we may establish a prima facie case also on those other instances where they have interfered with justice.
Following his arrest, the judiciary, through Chief Justice Martha Koome, has suspended Magistrate Martin Kinyua from all judicial duties pending the conclusion of the case against him. In a statement, Koome, who also chairs the Judicial Service Commission, underscored the need for judicial officers to uphold the highest standards of integrity, describing it as the bedrock of public confidence in the justice system. Although the two suspects have since been released on cash bail, they are expected to face charges related to solicitation and receipt of a bribe. The EACC says investigations are ongoing and has revealed that it is also examining allegations against other judicial officers following a growing number of public complaints.
There have been complaints all over. We have mounted some covert operations. Very soon we may be able to get others in the process of receiving money and interfering with the justice system.
Kama Umwange, Citizen TV.
Elsewhere, the Anglican Church of Kenya Archbishop Jackson Ole Sapit has challenged the country's leadership to move beyond mere statements and dismantle the culture of goonism that he says threatens the country's stability. The Archbishop says the government's words do not match its actions while the country continues to slide down a dangerous path ahead of the elections in next year. He spoke as he led the cleansing of the All Saints Cathedral that was invaded by goons last month. Brenda Wanga has that report.
For the first time in nearly 6 weeks, the St. Nicholas Chapel within the All Saints Cathedral in Nairobi opened its doors for the men of the cloth. Their mission here, deeply spiritual. They are cleansing the place of worship after a goon attack earlier last month shook the very foundations of the faithful here. But Archbishop Sapit says restoring a building means little without restoring justice.
Because words without action will not help and will not build public confidence.
5 suspects were paraded after the cathedral attack. Others who were identified through CCTV video are still at large. The Archbishop says that's where accountability stopped.
But no case has ever been heard in court. No response has been given to us. Is that we do not only want to see goons arrested, we want to see the honor of the goons displayed, and we need to be told who and what intention they had in attacking the Church of Jesus Christ.
He's demanding the financiers and the masterminds be named, not just the men sent to carry out the violence at the church, not just the goons, but also those involved in the murder of teacher and blogger, the late Albert Ojwang.
The first action that needed, and Kenyans are waiting, is an apprehension of those people who are hooded in Prados, who were displayed in broad daylight. And the follow-up of the Albert Ojwang case, that we need to see the apprehension of those who are perpetrators and those who are the planners of it. That will restore public confidence.
For the Archbishop, the crisis goes beyond one attack on one cathedral.
The question I asked then, who is now in charge of law and order in Kenya? Is it the goons or the police? Even after the attack of the cathedral, we have seen, it has not diminished, it has heightened. It has been like hyped. It's going to another level.
And with an election months away, Sapit warns that Kenya cannot afford to normalize political violence.
That the culture of goonism that is taking root in Kenya will not give us the desires and the dreams that we have for Kenya. It will not result in a better Kenya. It will degenerate Kenya into a place of hopelessness and despair.
For the church, restoring this chapel was the easy part. restoring public confidence that no gathering, no congregation, no sacred place is safe from political thuggery. That fight is far from over. Brenda Wanga, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
On the same, the Deputy President, Professor Kithure Kindiki, has warned that the government will take firm action against politicians and individuals sponsoring goons to disrupt peace and security, saying no one will be spared regardless of their political belonging. Kindiki said the state will not tolerate the misuse of young people to fuel political violence, insisting that those behind such acts will face the full force of the law. He spoke in Iata constituency in the county of Machakos, where he officially opened the Kidhimani Land Registry and issued title deeds to some 1,300 beneficiaries.
Na hii matatizo ya kiusalama mara nyingi inaletwa na viongozi wa kisiasa. Na mimi nataka niseme ya kwamba viongozi wote wa siasa, wawe mlengo wa serikali, wawe mlengo wa upinzani, hakuna kiongozi ako na ruhusa ya kuhatarisha usalama wa taifa la Kenya. It doesn't matter if you are supporting the opposition or you are supporting the government side. Our national security and stability is paramount. We must say no to all forms of violence and the misuse of young people to transact politics.
Na leo tuko hapa Kidhimani tukifungua registry ya Gilgil iko tayari, registry ya Oloitoktok iko tayari. Hizi zote registry tunafungua, Your Excellency, ni kuhakikisha kuwa tunapeleka huduma kwa wananchi.
Na kuna mtu moja amemuletea confusion miaka mingi sana. Na hata wakati alikuwa kwa serikali, kazi yake ni kama haijaonekana. Sasa wakati huu tujiunge na kazi ya Rais William Ruto.
Health Cabinet Secretary Aden Duale has dismissed reports that 7 American humanitarian workers are quarantined at the controversial American-funded Ebola facility at Laikipia Air Base, insisting that the government stopped the construction of the center following a court order. Duale also says that the government will not disclose the locations of the Ebola quarantine and isolation centers, saying in so doing, it could discourage Kenyans from seeking treatment. Willie Lusige has that report.
As he received a 5-ton consignment of emergency Ebola medical supplies donated by the government of India at Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, Health Cabinet Secretary Aden Duale dismissed reports of 7 Americans quarantined at the Laikipia Air Base. Duale insists the government halted the construction of the US-funded Laikipia quarantine facility in compliance with a court order. He maintained that the reports were inaccurate.
When I appeared before court, I made a commitment, and I said I respect the rule of law. We have stopped. We are only building the other 22 sites. So if you can go there and see and come and tell me from where I sit as the Minister of Health, I don't react to what Reuters write. What I said is what is happening. We have complied with the court order.
On Friday last week, Samaritan past President and CEO Franklin Graham confirmed the presence of members of the staff of the Christian organization in Kenya, saying, and I quote, Samaritan's pass as 7 American disaster assistance response team staff members at the isolation center in Kenya. None of them have any symptoms, but they are being quarantined by the Kenyan government for 21 days, end of quote. Duale says Kenya remains Ebola-free with more than 270,000 travelers screened so far, adding that the government has operationalized 21 quarantine centers across the country after the Laikipia facility was suspended by the court.
Our labs are on high alert. Now we have 2 mobile laboratories in the western part of Kenya, along the border with Uganda.
Duale's denial raised questions about just what is happening, with the U.S. State Department official having confirmed that Kenyan authorities had authorized the movement of 7 Samaritans pass officials into the facility under observation of the U.S. Public Health Service clinicians. The LCS defended the government's decision not to reveal the locations of the quarantine and isolation centers, saying public disclosure could discourage Kenyans from seeking healthcare services.
We will not disclose where our isolation and quarantine stations are. If I say this hospital is a quarantine station, you know what will happen. Even Kenyans will not go to that hospital.
The latest donation from India is worth 60 million Kenyan shillings, includes personal protective equipment PPE, sample transportation kits, infrared thermometers and other critical supplies. It adds with the support already received from international partners, including the World Health Organization, as Kenya strengthens its preparedness against possible Ebola outbreak.
The situation is still evolving very rapidly in DR Congo, and we must stay alert.
Willy Lusige, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
Plenty still ahead, including the interview from Juba. President Salva Kiir speaks to Jeff Koinange on the vast array of issues ahead of the elections in December and 15 years since independence from Sudan. All that is after the break here on the broadcast. Stay with us. Thanks for staying with us. You're watching JKL. Hundreds of families across the country are in agony following severe disruption of services occasioned by nationwide universal healthcare workers' strike. Health workers withdrew services from most hospitals, even as the caucus of Workers' Union held protest in Nairobi, demanding to be included in the national government's payroll, accusing the Council of Governors of complacency. This even as residents in Kericho County stormed the referral facilities, expressing displeasure over what they said is the mishandling of the health docket. Laura Otieno has that report.
The third day of the UHC workers' strike was marked by protests in the country's capital, where the Health Union caucus marched to the Ministry of Health headquarters, laying bare their grievances. The workers accused the Council of Governors of deliberately sidelining workers employed under the Universal Health Coverage Program, terming the move a threat in implementing healthcare reforms.
Despite ourselves having demonstrated for more than 6 months and gotten a budgetary allocation of 8.9 billion to confirm the Universal Health Coverage staff on permanent and pensionable terms, the governors have refused to do so. And we say the governors because it's very clear that it's the county public service boards that are supposed to do this.
From here, the only salvation is the Cabinet Secretary for Health to give us those letters in consultation with the President of the Republic of Kenya. We will not go back to work until we get those blue, green, nice papers signed by the Public Service Commission, CEO.
So I know there is a strike in a number of counties, but that is not by space. You should put to the Council of Governors. Or UHC, there's no crisis. I have just talked to them. I have transferred their payroll as permanent and pensionable.
At the Kericho County Referral Hospital, wards and the outpatient departments remained deserted, leaving residents at a crossroads.
Mimi niko na mgonjwa hapa district hospital mwenye anafaa atumie oxygen 24/7. So hadi siku ya leo tumeambiwa tutoke na sijui tutaenda wapi na yeye juu inafaa tununue hiyo oxygen concentrator ama oxygen cylinder.
Hapa ni maajabu. Tumepata watchmen na watu wa cleanliness wakifanya kazi yao. Watu wengi wamekuja hapa na wamerudi, hakuna matibabu.
Over 7,000 health workers employed under the UHC are also demanding for the formal recognition of their unions as well as the payment of outstanding salaries. In the meantime, the Ministry of Health is demanding that UHC workers' payroll be placed under the Medical Services Department in order to end the stalemate and resolve the ongoing health crisis. Laura Otieno, Citizen TV.
President William Ruto's proposed overhaul of the university funding model has prompted reactions, with many continuing learners hopeful the changes could ease the financial burden which threatens their education. The head of state says the reforms are aimed at fixing gaps in the current funding system, which has left many students struggling to pay fees and meet the cost of living. While a section of education stakeholders has welcomed the plan to unify both tertiary education funding under the framework, they are also calling for careful implementation to ensure its long-term success. Emily Chabet has that report.
In Endiba village, Borabu constituency in Nyamira County, we meet 20-year-old Josephine Bitutu, a second-year student at University of Eldoret. Josephine, who lives with a single mother, has been forced to stay home after failing to raise her tuition fees. Placed in a funding band requiring a household contribution of 18,000 per semester, her dream of continuing with her university education now hangs in the balance.
Mzazi huwa afiki hapo penye tunalipa fee. Sometimes exam si rahisi nifanye, napitiana tu challenges na food huwa tu sometimes huwa nalala njaa. Sometimes huwa tu hadi classes si lazima niende huwa niko njaa.
Her modest family home reflects the hardships they face, making her university dream increasingly uncertain. Her mother, Drusilla Kwamboka, relies on casual jobs to provide for the family and educate her 4 children.
Sioni nikirudi shule, nikiangalia wadogo wangu, naweza endelesha tu masomo yangu ikifika tu kwenda hata next year, because pia tunafaa kuwapea pia waende shule.
A few meters from Josephine's home lives 20-year-old Mary Kemunto Sagwe, a second-year student at Jaramogi Oginga Odinga University. An orphan living with her grandfather, Mary says the household contribution required under Band 4 is far beyond her family's means.
School fees yangu per year ni 96,000. Household per semester ni 21, so per year ni 42,000. Ninapewa 23,000. Hii 23,000 nafaa kulipa nayo nyumba, nafaa kununua nayo chakula, nafaa kulipa nayo rent, na pia hata kununua vitu kama viatu, nguo za kwenda class.
Hundreds of students and their families have criticized the banding model, saying it fails to reflect their true financial realities. For many, the president's pledge to fully fund tertiary education has offered a glimmer of hope, though details of its implementation remain unclear.
Hii proposal ya government ya free education ya hiyo ingekuwa kama si loan ingekuwa sawa. Sasa hii unaweza kuwa umesoma na hakuna high chances ya kupata kazi. So zika inatusaidia.
And the proposal of the government kutulipia fee, alafu tukisha ajiliwa tuwalipe, I think it's a good idea because the government will be committed kutuandika kazi ndio tupate hii pesa tuwarudishie.
A section of education stakeholders has welcomed the president's announcement, saying a unified higher education funding system could enhance efficiency and improve student access to support.
There was a budget that was read the other time that was to cater for the help, higher education loan board, the tuition loan, that was to cover for the scholarship, what we call the bursary, and what was to cover the student support money, what we call student upkeep. Now, all that I think the government and the exchequer will do is simply to migrate this money to the new model that the president announced yesterday.
If this money is mopped up and put in one basket, myself, my friends, we will have even more than free education. If he says that all these monies which are being distributed through different agencies and they come from exchequer to be pulled together, we will walk home with free education. It has happened elsewhere.
The proposed bill is yet to reach Parliament, despite the president's indication that the changes could take effect in September. Emily Chebet, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
Linda Mwananchi leaders held a lengthy meeting with Jubilee Party Deputy Leader Dr. Fred Matiang'i in a bid to foster opposition unity ahead of next year. The leaders also announced that they will be meeting other opposition leaders in the coming days, even as momentum now gathers in coalition building. And as Stephen Leto now reports, Siaya County Governor James Orengo's convoy was attacked in Homa Bay County as the governor made a tour of the county.
Linda Mwananchi leaders led by Nairobi Senator Edwin Sifuna visited Jubilee Deputy Party Leader Dr. Fred Matiang'i at his Karen home. The meeting, according to sources, focused on strengthening strategic coordination within the opposition as they prepare to form a formidable team to face off with President William Ruto on the ballot next year. According to Matiang'i, the meeting sought to align strategies between the two opposition camps as they seek to build a credible, principled and people-centered alternative voices ahead of the 2027 general election. The leaders further announced that they will be meeting other opposition figures to forge a united opposition front. Meanwhile, in Homa Bay, Siaya Governor James Orengo countered hostility as he toured Homa Bay County today. Orengo's convoy made several brief stops where he condemned the incident and accused the government of attempting to silence opposition voices.
You cannot use stones and tear gas as the basis of the Constitution. We want our right, and nobody is going to stop us from reaching every part of the country.
Orengo further called on the residents of Homa Bay to back the Linda Mwananchi team ahead of next year's polls. Stephen Leto, Citizen TV.
Kiambu County has recorded its highest ever on-source revenue collection of 6.5 billion shillings in the 2025-26 financial year, with the county administration attributing the milestone to enhanced revenue collection systems and prudent financial management. Speaking during the unveiling of the county's on-source revenue collection for the financial year 25-26, Governor Kimani Wamatangi said the county's revenue has grown steadily since he assumed office, rising from 2.8 billion shillings in the first year to the current 6.5 billion. He attributed the growth to reforms in the revenue collection, saying that increased funds have enabled the county to expand investments in roads, healthcare, water, markets and other public services, while reducing reliance on allocations from the national government.
Asante. Thank you very much, Deputy.
Now we are on a robust road program at this time to ensure that the challenges our people have been facing in having good motorable access roads, we shall not wait. We shall not sit and say that we have an excuse because the money has not been disbursed or there are issues in court and the ping pong that I've referred to between the National Assembly and other organs. We shall be responsible and do the roads that we will do because our people must see where the money is going.
3 lucky winners are celebrating life-changing opportunities in the latest Shabikia World Cup Kishabiki campaign, which has just concluded after sharing a total of 1 million Kenya shillings. Polycarp Lumumba, a trader from Kitengela, won 500,000 Kenya shillings on his favorite crash game on Shabiki.com. Keti Kusa, a receptionist from Thika in Kiambu County, pocketed 300,000 Kenya shillings on the same game. Meanwhile, Chachi Lokech from Migori County won 200,000 Kenya shillings on Shabikia Sportsbook. The 3 winners say the prize money will help improve their livelihoods and support their future plans.
Naisikia kama niko na furaha sana wakati nimeona nimewini pesa shilingi 1,500 na itanisaidia kibiashara kuimarisha na kuiendeleza vizuri.
Ninataka kijana wangu amemaliza high school na anafaa ingie college, na college anaenda it is very expensive. Anataka kufanya nursing. Sasa at least nimepata mahali ambapo nitaanzia. Nilikuwa nashindwa nitaanzia wapi.
Naona sasa tu ni nunue ndudhi nipate kushughulikia wa clients wangu sasa kwa haraka, niwafikie virahisi. Alafu itakuwa inani boost pia saa zingine kama sina job, at least nichape na boda.
Still ahead on the broadcast, business and sports, but after the break we'll be taking you to Juba. Stay with us. Welcome back and thanks for staying with us. Let's cross over to Juba in South Sudan, where Jeff Koinange is sitting down with the South Sudanese President Salva Kiir on the vast array of issues awaiting the administration ahead of the elections in December. Since independence in 2011, the country's administrative nature has been bedeviled by the constant infighting and civil wars. And the 5 vice presidents they have at the moment, the revitalized peace agreements, and what that means then for the South Sudanese people ahead of the elections and the stability that they are crying for. Let's cross over to Juba with Jeff Koinange and President Salva Kiir.
Thanks so much, Ayub. Yes, you are indeed right. We are live in the South Sudanese capital, Juba. The presidency, to be precise, 11 days after the country celebrated 15 years since independence. Our guest tonight, a one-on-one exclusive with President Salva Kiir Mayardit, who has announced that he's running for election this coming December as the country goes to the polls. Mr. President, good to see you.
Happy to see you.
Thank you, sir.
After many years.
Many years, yes. And we'll talk about that because the last time I was here was 2019, 7 years.
Yeah.
A lot has changed in Juba. I'll come to that in a moment.
Okay.
First, Mr. President, your country goes to the polls in 5 months. Is South Sudan ready for that election?
South Sudan is ready for elections because the people would want to elect their leaders and then to get out of this transition. And the transition for the people think that it is not good with them. And so the election is good with them.
Mr. President, last time I was here, this country was on the brink of war. It was a terrible time. After that, peace agreement was signed, comprehensive peace agreement. It still exists to this day. It reminds me of Kenya during the post-election violence. You remember 2008. We had a president, vice president, prime minister, 2 deputy prime ministers. It was a big government. You have 5 vice presidents sitting at one table. How is that working for you?
It worked because we needed peace. And so we have to make compromises so that we reach where we are today.
Has it been tough?
It was, but we managed it.
What was the secret?
Will you want to be the vice president of the government of Kenya?
Me?
Okay. Then it is just, it doesn't come in.
But you managed, you succeeded, because, you know, the country is peaceful for the most part now.
Thank you.
Mr. President, last time we were here, the country was on the brink of war. And things were really getting out of hand. But then peace prevailed, comprehensive peace agreement, which has 5 vice presidents sitting at the table. How is that working for you?
It worked. It worked, and this is why we reached to this date. Otherwise, it could have not, if we had to turn to another direction. This would have not worked.
How did you manage it? Because, like you said, it could have gone the other way. How did you manage it?
I really tried all the compromises. Although I told my predecessor, Omar al-Bashir, I told him in Khartoum when he was still in power that if you bring me so many vice presidents, where will I accommodate them? You know Juba, you were there, and then there are no houses that you have built for vice presidents. Number two, vehicles for the vice presidents to run the country are not there. What he was telling me was that he will work with me so that he can increase the oil production. He will talk to the company so that they increase the production so that there is no gap. I said, okay, if you are committed to that, I don't have any objection.
And then the guns went silent. What was the secret?
The people that wanted positions were given positions, others were promised.
Mr. President, when you landed the other day, we've seen a lot of changes in Juba the last 7 years. Plenty of changes. Brand new airport. There are roads that have been built, lots of infrastructure, tall buildings coming up.
It was tough, but we were for it, and so we moved from step to step. One is that we did not accept fighting. We concentrate on maintaining ceasefire, and whatever we can do for the development, we did it.
And you're still doing it?
We are still doing it.
5 years from now, will there be a different Juba here?
Yes.
Yeah. The other thing is, a lot of people ask about the independence of the judiciary. Your thoughts?
Yes, it is independent. You have the executive, which is the presidency, and then followed by the parliament, and then followed by judiciary. These three are operating independently.
Mr. President, let's go back to the elections in December. Once the voting is done and the votes are counted, should your people, should South Sudanese expect any change in government?
There will be changes after the elections. So now you can see the 5 vice presidents. What will they do? Like in the parliament, we have 650 members. What will they do? Because this huge government prevented development. So they will have to be reduced so that there is a window of development.
Mr. President, with elections, again, barely 5 months away, what message do you have to your people, South Sudanese across this country, and the hundreds of thousands more living overseas? What do you tell them?
The first thing to tell them is that to thank them for their endurance. All this long transitional period should have triggered whatever disappointment. But I thank South Sudanese for their endurance. Number two, they must go in for elections. Registration of voters will start very soon. So I want them to register in big numbers so that when they go for voting, they pick their leaders. This will not be dictated to them. Number three, the peace agreement must be maintained. People must remain united and should not fragment into tribes, because we have 64 tribes. This will be the worst scenario if people go there. But if they maintain peace in the way they have been all these years, to remain united, if they remain united, we will have no problem.
Mr. President, good to see you.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much.
If you ever want to give that hat to me anytime, huh? I love cowboy hats. Yes. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Time for business here on the broadcast. Kenya and China have continued to deepen trade ties as the 11th China Trade Week officially kicked off in Nairobi. The three-day exhibition is bringing together businesses, investors and policymakers from both countries as the focus now shifts from traditional trade to manufacturing partnerships, technology transfer and industrial investment. Jasmine Wamboi has that report.
For more than 10 years, China Trade Week has connected Kenyan businesses with Chinese manufacturers, creating opportunities for trade and investment. The 11th edition, now underway at KICC, has brought together hundreds of exhibitors alongside investors from Kenya, China, and across Africa.
The mandate has always been, from our first year, 11 years ago, is to encourage, drive foreign direct investment into key sectors.
The exhibition focuses on sectors that are central to Kenya's industrial ambitions, including energy, water solutions, manufacturing, construction, and digital technology. Over the next 3 days, businesses will be looking to secure new markets and build commercial partnerships.
Over the years, China Trade Week has given birth to other specific industry-specific shows. So Megawatt, which focuses on energy, which is here today. Africa Technology Show, which focuses on tech. And lastly, Africa Build, that focuses on building and construction.
The exhibition comes as economic ties between Nairobi and Beijing continue to deepen. China remains one of Kenya's largest trading partners and a major source of infrastructure financing. The government is increasingly seeking Chinese investment in manufacturing, technology and value addition across various sectors. Earlier this year, the two countries concluded negotiations on a trade agreement expected to improve market access for Kenyan exports into China. Jasmine Wamboi, Citizen TV.
As climate change continues to disrupt rainfall patterns and increases the cost of farming, some farmers are now turning to smart agriculture to survive. In Baringo County, one farmer is combining technology, water conservation and drought-resistant crops to maintain production despite harsh weather conditions. Our reporter Dennis Oteno tells us more on this week's edition of Smart Farm.
On the dry plains of Baringo County, where temperatures continue to rise and rainfall has become unpredictable, farmer Bernard Chemjor is embracing smart agriculture to keep his farm productive. At his Greenstone farm in Emining, Chemjor grows a variety of fruits, including mangoes, dragon fruits, pawpaws, passion fruits and pomegranates. He also keeps dairy cows, goats and poultry. But years of changing weather patterns have forced him to abandon traditional farming methods and adopt climate-smart solutions.
On this farm, it was a degraded land. There was a lot of erosion, and therefore it was a rocky land, a lot of stones. And therefore I had to remove the stones. After removing the stones, I had to work on the soil fertility, and the farm has become green.
One of the major innovations on the farm is drip irrigation. Unlike conventional irrigation, the system delivers water directly to the roots of the crops, helping reduce wastage and conserve water during dry seasons. Temjor has also introduced mulching to retain soil moisture and regulate temperatures around the crops. Trees planted around the farm act as windbreakers while creating a cooler microclimate for the fruits and pasture crops.
During such seasons, we also have a lot of erosion caused by the wind, which carries off the topsoil. But in this farm, we have tried to mitigate that by growing plants, trees along the boundary of the farm, and we have also the fruit trees have also been able to assist us to control that type of erosion.
To cope with prolonged drought, the farmer has diversified into drought-tolerant crops, such as dragon fruit, a crop that continues to perform well even with limited rainfall.
And currently, it is unpredictable. Like for the last 2 years, there was good amount of rainfall, which is not predictable. Sometimes it comes in heavily, and sometimes it's scarce rain.
The farm also relies on organic manure from livestock to improve soil fertility and rehabilitate degraded land.
The major source of this organic manure is from the dairy unit and the goat unit and the poultry unit, and that has been able to assist us in the soil fertility.
However, Temjor says climate change continues to increase production costs as farmers depend more on irrigation, fuel and labor. Pasture production has also been affected, reducing fodder for livestock and lowering seed yields. Dennis Otieno, Smart Farm.
Time for some sporting action. The national women football team, the Harambee Starlets, have finished their training camp in France as they head to Morocco for the Women Africa Cup of Nations that will start in 4 days' time. The Starlets were forced to switch their training from Miramar to Aix-en-Provence after logistical challenges in Miramar and the quality of pitch available for the team. Starlets were accommodated 50 kilometers from Miramar, and this necessitated the change in training venue to avoid 1 hour-long drive to go for training. Starlets will face hosts Morocco in their first match on Sunday before taking on Senegal 4 days later. Their last group match will be against Algeria on the 3rd of August. The semi-finalists at the tournament will qualify for the Women World Cup.
Kila mtu ana fight, though kuna vitu zenye hatujazoea kama food, but kila mtu ana fight, grao ziko poa, so it's a good experience kwa sisi vile tunaenda AFCON, inatupea kitu yenye tunaweza fightia.
Kutrain huko France, tumetrain poa, training facilities pia ziko poa, na tunazidi tu kujipush tukijua tuta-achieve goals zetu.
And the race for a coveted place at the 2027 Magical Kenya Open will take center stage this week at the Kenya Amateur Stock Play Championship, teeing off at the Royal Nairobi Golf Club. The event has attracted one of the strongest amateur fields in the circuit as golfers chase few slots available in the 2027 Magical Kenya Open. The winner of the championship will earn direct qualification to the 2027 Magical Kenya Open, offering the country's top amateur golfers an opportunity to compete alongside professionals on the DP World Tour. The championship has attracted an elite international field featuring golfers from Kenya, Zambia, India, Namibia, Rwanda, Tanzania, Uganda, Burundi, Lebanon, Ethiopia, Ghana, and China, underlying the tournament's growing stature within the region and beyond. Leading the field is the defending champion Jay Sandu, who has won back-to-back tournaments, the Limuru Open and the Brackenhurst Trophy. The Confederation of African Volleyball has released the final list of 16 teams that will compete for the 2026 Women's African Nations Cup to be played in Nairobi next month. The tournament will begin on the 23rd of August and will conclude on the 5th of September at the Kasarani Indoor Gymnasium. Hosts Kenya is the first team on the list, with powerhouses Egypt and Cameroon also expected. Burundi, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Uganda and Rwanda are the regional teams in the championship, together with Algeria, Nigeria, Morocco, Mali and Burkina Faso. Tunisia came into the tournament as Zone 1 champions, Zone 2 champions Senegal, as well as Zone 3 champions Ghana, and Zone 6 representatives, the Zambia, are also in the final list.
Kenya, here they come from the other side and catch the yen line, Mercy Moam. And the small setter for Cameroon, Grace Bicatel, is in the front row. Free ball over. Bicatel into the middle. Hit by Piata. Returned by Kenya, and Chumba's done it.
Thank you for watching this edition of Jeff Koinange Live. Good night and God bless.